Good morning. I believe we are live everywhere. Oh, yeah, I just heard my voice. Whoopsies. Sorry about that. All right. It was actually kind of a real battle getting live this morning. Not gonna lie. Good morning, Elmanian. Yo, what is this title? What is FiscalOS? Oh, the title is just what I'm gonna try to do today on stream. I have to store access tokens to my bank accounts in my database, and I need to be able to encrypt those access tokens. And then FiscalOS is just the name I gave to this personal finance app that I built. It's not really an operating system. I would never, I would never dare to try to build an operating system. I just called it that because this is where I'll manage. This is my plan is to use this to kind of manage my personal life from, you know. I would never dare to try to attempt such things. Good morning, reps. Almost afternoon for me. Nice. Well, I hope you're having a great day, Maddie. Good to see you. Good morning, Almighty. Good to see you. Melty. Damn, I know my sleep schedule is fucked when I see your notification. Hopefully it's not too fucked. Hopefully it's not too fucked. Sleep is important, you know. Like if you don't sleep, man, it's tough. It's tough to do most other things in life if you're not getting good sleep. I think that's actually what makes being a parent the hardest in the early days when you have your first kid or you know actually when you have any kid. Uh, like taking care of them when they're babies is a lot of fun, but I think the thing that makes it really hard is the lack of sleep. You basically live your life in like 2 hour spurts. What do we use Rust for? I believe Rust gets used a ton for like back end work, CLI tools, um, anything where you want to be able to do like really fast, concurrent, memory safe, right operations. I think is pretty good use cases for it. The only thing I used Rust for was for building a Notepad app, which I still haven't finished yet. But I'm sure I'll find my way back to. I'm sure I'll find my way back there someday. How many hours do you manage to get during the week? I can tell you because I have an Apple Watch and I think it tracks my sleep. One sec. I probably get hours per week. I would say on average, I probably sleep between 6 and 8. So what is that? 6 times 7 is 35, right? Hold on one sec. So this says average time of sleep 6 hours and 40 minutes. So I mean, that seems on par with what I would imagine. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with the fact that like sleep is just incredibly important. It's kind of the foundation of everything, you know? How many hours of legs do you get in a week? Let's see. I typically follow a push, basically like a push pull lower split, and I just rotate those 3 days a week, just like in order, and it's actually pull, push, lower. So I just go pull, push, lower, pull, push, lower, pull, push, lower, and I just repeat that forever. I've had different training splits over the years, but that one I seem to really do well with. I recover pretty well with that one. My issue right now is that I've been sleeping too much. I've been up for like 3 hours. Well, I'm sure there is such a thing as sleeping too much, but it seems like that would be very hard to do, to actually sleep too much. Amanian watching my friend. It's a cat. Well, have fun with your cat friend. I hope you're enjoying yourself. All right. So, oh, I need to update my Twitch title. Did I update it? Yeah, I already updated it. Okay. So we are live, and we're gonna try to. I didn't get a chance yesterday to implement this encryption service, so I'm gonna try to do that now. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I spent 80% of the last 3 days in bed. It definitely feels like too much. Why? Okay, yeah, 80%. What is that? That's it's like 18 hours? No, 20 hours? Oh, can you not do that? Yeah, 19 hours. Yeah, yeah. That's a lot of time in bed, man. That's yeah. You know, I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you. Good morning, Mr.net. Well, good morning, Zane. Good to see you. Yeah, I don't know if Mr.net is me, but I do like .net. I do like .net. I like supporting .net. I like using .net. I hope to encourage more people to use .net, you know? I'm actually going to call this encryptor. I wonder what namespace it falls into in .net. Lurk away, Almanian. Lurk away. Do this. Core doesn't get enough credit. It's pretty stable even on Linux. Yeah, .NET doesn't get enough credit in general. I mean, it's very stable on Linux. I mean, I would bet the vast majority of .NET applications that are running in the cloud, I don't know about, it's probably different if you look at things that are hosted locally or even run on people's local machines, but I'd be willing to bet the vast majority of .NET applications that are running in the cloud run on a Linux machine. And that's probably true. That's probably true for even things that sort of appear to run on a Windows host, right? But yeah, .NET does not get enough credit. I think it's they've done a really good job of trying to make it more friendly. It's crazy how hard it is to like change people's perspective of you. You know, it's just so much work. Good morning, Shiv Prata. Shiv, I'm just gonna call you Shiv. Good morning, good morning, Shiv. Good morning, Adrak. Good morning, Duck Boy. Good to see you. Steven, did you do AOC in the past? I did do AOC in the past. Yeah, I did AOC, and I think my first year doing it was 2023, and then I did it in 2024, and then I did it in 2025, and it's been a blast. I plan to keep doing it. It's kind of become part of my like holiday traditions, you know. It's just something I do. Makes it feel like Christmas time. Shiv, what's FiscalOS? Oh, it's just the name of this application I'm building. It's a personal finance app. So I thought, oh, well, since this is kind of like the central place where I'm gonna try to manage my physical life, so to speak, right? It's kind of just a play on words. I might change it, but right now that's what I'm calling it. It's not really an operating system. I realize I should. I realize, given my audience, I probably should have taken that into account. That some people might have thought that that's what it was. All right. What happened to my music? Let's see. We'll put this in here. All right, let's get rid of this. Oops. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Delete those. Okay, now we just have our test and our class. So let's implement an encrypt. So let's do public async task encrypt when called. It should return encrypted data. Fact. Another 10 years at this rate, and that opinion will change, I bet. I hope so. Oh, you're talking about .NET. Yeah, I hope so. Really do. You should build an OS based on a religion surrounding .NET. I'm never going to build an operating system. That's just never going to happen over here. Anyone else just fucking love milk? I could possibly survive on just drinking milk. I'm a fucking fiend. Well, it's a very random thing to confess on stream, but uh, I do enjoy milk as well. I do enjoy milk as well. It's really funny. Not random. I'm craving it. Okay, well, go get yourself some. Go get yourself some milk, man. It's funny. Let's see. .NET test dash filter. Fully qualified name, I think is how you do that. Oh, oops. Oh no. Let's see. The type of namespace encryptor cannot be found. Let's see. Where was that at? Huh. .NET build. I'm pretty sure there's a using for that. Huh. It's weird. The type or namespace encryptor could not be found. What is happening? I could have sworn I just added all these usings. Maybe I dreamed it up. Good morning, Inspire. Good to see you, man. How are you doing? Oh my god, that's a long list of options there. Let's see, standard output, unknown option filter. I could have sworn there was a filter option for .NET tests. Oh, they changed this is for the new, I'm using the new testing platform for Microsoft, and they must have changed the methods. So let's see, filter class, run all methods in a given test class, pass one or more fully qualified type names, i.e. my namespace.class wildcard is supported at the beginning or end of each filter. Okay, so we can do this filter class That's actually a better experience than trying to remember the method not implemented. That's what I hope to see. And now we need to go and implement it. So let's go do that. Now to implement this, we're gonna need some options, some configurable options. Pretty cool. How was your yesterday? Oh yeah, my yesterday was good. Took my kid to basketball practice, worked like normal, normal 8-hour, 9-hour work day. Streamed. It's good. Streamed. We figured out how to use the Plaid API, which was pretty fun. We figured out how to actually get account information and whatnot added, which was good. Made some YouTube shorts. I didn't make any videos. I wrote a blog post yesterday. That was good. Yeah. I honestly can't complain, So it was good. Okay. So in order for this to work, we're gonna need we are gonna need some options that have some stuff on them, right? So we need a key, and we also need a we need a key and we need a vector. So let's do private const string key, and this will just be, well, actually it shouldn't be a constant because it needs to come in from configuration. So let's do private how do we want to do this? I guess let's start by just doing encryption options. We'll just follow that same options pattern. And we'll do namespace. I need to feed blogs to my RSS reader. Nice. Yeah, there aren't a ton of blogs I follow these days that much. I used to follow blogs a lot back when I was in fitness. There was a lot of fitness people that I followed who had blogs I read like on a weekly basis. And I've just kind of gotten out of the habit of really consuming many blogs. I consume a lot more YouTube these days than I do blogs. We'll do public sealed class. Actually, I think this can be internal. Internal sealed class, and we'll call this encryption options like this, and then we'll have a public string, and we'll call this key. Yeah, key. I'll make it a record. And then we'll go in here and we'll say, okay, you now depend on an I options of type encryption options. Like that. Okay. Yeah, I think I feel like I need feel like there's something else I need, but I'm not really sure. So let's see, using var, I don't remember the name of it. What the heck? There we go. Let's see, what is it? .NET is it AES class? Yeah, AES encryption. That's what it is. Advanced Encryption Standard. Represents the abstract base class in which all implementations of the Advanced Encryption Standard must inherit. But I'm pretty sure it has, like, yes, that's what it has this. That's what I want. So I'll do var AES equals AES dot create. And then we need AES dot key equals options dot value dot key. Cannot implicitly convert from type string. Oh, we have to get this as bytes. UTF-8 dot encoding, or sorry, dot get bytes. For now, let's just return encrypted, or I guess we'll just use the same language, ciphertext. I think the bytes should also be of specific length. Should they? I mean, my key should always be a 32-bit string, right? But my key is going to come from the outside. It's not going to be something my application generates. Morning, Ryan. Good to see you. Cyberlenka, isn't the LSP supposed to help with auto imports? I thought so, but sometimes I don't feel like I get very good support for it. Or I guess I don't feel like it works whenever I do the code action, but it doesn't seem to work when I type enter. And I don't know if that's like a setting I'm missing or something, but whenever when I type enter, it doesn't seem to auto import it. But when I do, for me, it's leader CA, and I do the code action, it will automatically import it if I do the code action. But it might be a setting in my NeoVim config I don't have set up just right. You know, could be a me thing. Cyberlenka, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, so yeah, it'll be a consistent. The string will be a consistent size, or the key will be a consistent size. Let's see, planning on a fun project of making my own RSS reader in Zig or some of the like. That sounds fun. I feel like that's a good project to use to learn stuff is Zig. Or not Zig. A good project to learn stuff is an RSS reader. Just like I feel like a good project to learn stuff is like a URL shortener. I feel like that's a good project to learn things. Because you kind of want something that's going to take you sort of end to end a little bit, you know? So I think that sounds like a blast. You'll have to come back and let me know what you think about Zig, because for me it was between learning Zig or Rust, and I picked Rust. So I'd love to hear what you think about Zig. Cyber, I've seen people do hash of the input key and slice to guarantee any length will be supported. Yeah, I mean that's probably more. That probably makes sense if you are writing something that everyone is going to use. Like you're making like a library, but I think for me, for my app, since it's just for my application, I feel like I think it's okay just to put the onus on me to like, hey, you need to generate a key of the right length, the right size. But yeah, probably a good idea if you're a library author to support arbitrary stuff. Let's see, create encryptor. And this is where I give it the AES.key. Let's take AES.iv. Symmetric encryption uses non-default initialization vector, which could be potentially repeatable. Let's see what that means. Do I need to set that myself? CA 5401. Let's see. Symmetric encryption should always use a non-repeatable initialization vector to prevent dictionary attacks. How to fix. Use the default RGB IV value, that is, use the overload of the which doesn't have any parameters. Oh. Okay. Or what if I set this? Hold on, what is this? What is this? This is a new one. I haven't seen this before. AES-CNG. What's that? CNG. Provides a cryptography next generation implementation of the advanced encryption standard. Ooh, next generation. So what is the difference? Maybe Gemini knows. Let's see. What is the difference? What is difference between AES and AES-CNG? Oh, it's specifically suited for leveraging Windows persisted keys in modern CNG providers where AES Create is generally preferred for automatically choosing the best available provider. Okay, then I should stick with what I'm doing then. Don't get distracted by fancy by the new fancy thing. So what it's saying is basically, are you saying I should use AES.iv equals, what was it? RGB IV. Oh, that's pseudocode. So how do I get the key into the encryptor then? I guess just like that. It just by default uses the key, creates a symmetric encryptor object with the current symmetric algorithm.key property and initial. Okay. So because I set it here and I called it here, we should be using the right key, which is good. Is it me or is Discord kind of slow today? I haven't really been over there on Discord much. To be honest, I only really use Discord for you guys. That's really that's the most I use Discord, is just to talk to you guys outside of stream. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but it's a thing. Seeing all this coffee reminds me of when my mom said coffee causes constipation to stop me from drinking so much. She lied to you because I'm pretty sure for most people coffee does the exact opposite of constipating them. Ryan, so you zagged instead of zigged? I did. I did zag instead of zig. Inspire. So you are a Slack user at work? Yeah, we don't use Discord at work. Yeah. No Discord for work. I was never really, I never, like, I think it's also is largely because I don't have, I don't play PC games, and it seems like a lot of people who play PC games, use Discord as like a common third-party chat application. And I'm a console gamer. Alright, so we have our cryptor, we have our stream writer, got our key, got our ciphertext. Now we can say await stream writer dot write async. Give it our plain text. Make sure we flush it. Make method async. It's fine. And then we should be able to say stream wait stream writer dot close. Right? Not streamer. Oh, this doesn't have an async variant. That. And then ciphertext is actually just going to be return convert.toBase64, so we don't have to worry about weird encoding things. Okay, and now if we rerun our test, let's see, parameter type I options, encryption method options is less accessible than method O. Okay, that's because I made it sealed, or because I made it internal, so make it public. Rerun. There's no argument given that corresponds to the required parameter options of the encryptor. You would be correct about this. So we need to do options, private read-only mock I options of type JW or encryption options. And then I think we can then move this to the constructor. So we can say public encryptor tests. And we can do system under test equals new. Pass in mock options dot object like this, and then here we can do well, actually, we can just use the same key for all the tests. That's fine. So what we can do up here is we can say mock options dot setup get, and then we can say m.value is just going to return a new encryption options, and then we'll just set the key in here. And then let's do key equals random dot get string. $32. Let's see, syntax error. There's no argument given that corresponds to the Oh, I have to tell it what characters? I don't want to do that. Let's just do convert. Well, that's going to run that's going to run before every. I think that's okay. As long as the same test is encrypting and decrypting data, which it should be. Specify key is not a valid size for this algorithm. Oh no, my mouse disconnected. Did you check out OpenClaw code? I have not. I have not done anything with OpenClaw, which I'm not going to probably use that because I don't want to connect it to all my shit. You know what I mean? It seems kind of intimidating to give an AI tool like that access to everything. Are you guys doing that? Like, have you guys tried OpenClaw and connected it to all the things? Duckboy, I could switch to Slack if you prefer. Oh no, I don't. I'm fine with Discord. Yeah, I'm totally fine with Discord. I just don't use I just have not in the habit of using it that much, you know. So, but I use it to talk to you guys. Sure. Hi, what are you studying / creating today? I am working on implementing the ability to encrypt and decrypt data in my application because I have to store access tokens in my database. And while it's true that if somebody gets access to my server, they kind of have the keys to the kingdom, I probably should encrypt the data while it's at rest to avoid whoopsie doozies or whoopsie daisies. So that's what I'm working on implementing. It's just a little simple, a very simple encryption service to do that. Let's see, Con. Hey, what is this ID? I'm working in NeoVim, which is just it's a terminal-based editor. But VS Code's good too. I like VS Code. Derek, code, coffee, pancakes, and Steven. Today might be a good day. Well, I'm glad you got pancakes. Pancakes sound delicious. See you, Almanian. Inspire. Also, I'm just realizing it might be time to waste a day on resetting my my Vim config. Nice. So, is that like a budgeted thing? Like every quarter, you're allowed to have 3 days fiddling with your NeoVim config? How do you balance personal projects, work, and study? Well, so I'm a 32-year-old dad of 2, and I'm married, so I have a wife and kids. So the way I kind of prioritize things is family comes first before everything else. So I always try to be available for my kids' sports, practices, school events, anything that's going on with them in their life, I try to be present for that, because my kids are only going to be my kids, or like at least they're only going to be here with me in my house, kind of like me raising them for a very short period of time. You know, it's like 18 years and then they're going to be gone. So I try to prioritize that. And then after that comes work. So I usually work from like 8 to 5 every day, roughly, right? My hours might bounce around a little bit. So I do family stuff before, after the work day, then I work. And then the way I fit other hobbies in is basically I get up super early in the morning so I can stream and do this and have an excuse to work on side projects and make some content. And then for like working out, which is another big hobby of mine, I usually spend like an hour a day or so training, lifting weights, doing some kind of exercise and fitness. And I usually do that like over my lunch break during work because I have a home gym. And then in the evenings, I try to make sure I'm available for the kids. And then after the kids go to bed, I try to make sure I'm just available to hang out with my wife and, you know, be present. So that's kind of, I think you kind of have to, for me, you just kind of have to stack it in terms of priority. And there's only so much time in the day. And so you just get to as much as you can according to that list of priorities, right? So like for me, it's like take care of the wife and kids, make sure I handle my business at work, because work obviously provides a salary so I can provide a life that's reasonably well for my family. And then if there's time left over in the day, which sometimes there's not, but if there is time left over in the day, then I use that for my own personal stuff. And sometimes I don't get to it. And then when you don't get to some of the extra stuff, you just kind of, maybe tomorrow. So I just try not to judge myself too terribly much if I don't get to the ancillary things. So that's how I do it. Inspired not. It's 7 out of 7 days for it. Nice. Can't waste my time on other things, to be honest. I mean, you can just fall down a NeoVim rabbit hole. Can go very deep very quickly. So it's like whenever you decide to sit down to work on that kind of stuff, you've got to be prepared to waste quite a bit of time on it. Corel, how did you set up NeoVim for C# development? A lot of trial and error, man. A lot of trial and error. There's not... Win, good day, mate. Good day to you. A lot of trial and error. There's not a lot of good resources out there. Actually, I didn't really even know it was really feasible until I saw... There was a YouTube video. I'll see if I can find it. There was a YouTube video on the .NET channel. Let's see, .NET, NeoVim, interview. Oh, LOL. Some of my stuff pops up. This one. This was the interview I saw. So this was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And this was before I had ever done anything. I knew about NeoVim, but I'd only seen the Primeagen really use it. And then I saw this interview, and the developer being interviewed, his name is Moad Hathot, I think is his name. Yeah, and he's a Microsoft MVP, and he was showing off his NeoVim setup. So that's what put the bug in my brain, like maybe it was possible. And then I just did a lot of trial and error to do it. But I think if I was to tell you, if you're interested in doing .NET development, obviously you can reference my NeoVim configs. If you type !NeoVim in the chat, you'll get a link to my configs. But there is a project out there called easy.net that some people are working on to try to make doing .NET development in NeoVim more like a lazy Vim experience, where you just install like one plugin and it just kind of works. And so this is probably what I would recommend, is not to try to reinvent the wheel yourself like I did, because there are some rough edges with my configuration. There are some not ideal things, but this might be where you start, is start here. Or you're welcome to start with you're welcome to look at my configurations and like use those. But this seems like the more straightforward, like done for you path. And if you're looking for that, if you're looking for more like a plug and play, I'd probably use this. I should probably migrate to this, honestly. As somebody who is using .NET, as someone who's doing .NET development with NeoVim, it just probably makes sense for everybody to kind of be centralizing their learnings and their experience into one place so we can all benefit from it. So I'll put this link in the chat if you're curious. Krell, all right, thanks. Haven't seen that repo before. Of course, man. Yeah, I'll put this link in the chat if that's helpful at all, Krell. I mean, obviously, the thing is like for real serious .NET development, is NeoVim really the tool for the job? Probably not, right? If you're dealing with like a 100 project solution, you know, millions of lines of code, I probably wouldn't use NeoVim for that. I'd probably use Visual Studio or Writer, right? But if you're doing something like I'm doing, you know, you got 3 or 4 projects, it's a single application, it's probably fine. You can get by with it. Duckboy, when you do a search for anything other than your name and your stuff comes up, I know, right? Why did I pop up there? I'm guessing it's because I posted a lot of C# stuff and a lot of NeoVim stuff. Inspire, you don't set up NeoVim, it sets you up. Hello, Couch Potato, good to see you. Innocent Voice, I just started doing ML stuff just not long ago. Probably been a week and I have to switch to default IDE VS Code. Maybe I should update my NeoVim just like yours. You're welcome to use my NeoVim configurations or customize them or refine them to fit your needs. But VS Code's a good IDE. Like, unless you just really want to take a side quest and have fun, I don't think anyone really needs to necessarily go down the NeoVim rabbit hole, because to me the biggest benefit from using NeoVim has still been Vim Motions. And you can use Vim Motions in VS Code. There's a Vim extension that you can use, and you can set up all the same kind of keybinds and stuff. So, I guess in my mind, it's not a mandatory thing unless you just really want to give it a try, you know. And for me, that's what it was. It was just kind of a side quest I took last year. Let's see, when called with cipher text, it should return plain text. All right, so we'll do the same exercise here. So we'll encrypt the data, and then we'll decrypt it. And then we'll say decrypted data that should be data. Okay. When this runs, this will fail. Obviously, because we haven't implemented that. But we should be able to fix that by implementing it. Specified key is not a valid size for this algorithm. Oh, well, shoot. I need to fix that before I implement the next test. Okay, how do I generate? I thought I was generating. Let's see, generate valid AES key in .NET. .256 bits. Just 32 bytes. I thought I was doing that though. Am I not? Use encoding methods like base64 hexadecimal to avoid weakening the key strength. Well, I guess the assumption I'm making I guess I should assume that the key is base64 encoded, so if I do this, cannot convert from byte to char. So this returns what? This returns a byte array, and you want what? Okay, let's try that. Okay, one passed and one failed. Okay, that's fine. I think I probably want to assume it's base64, right? Because that's probably safer to save into files. Or I guess we could do this. Instead of using base64, we could just encode it. Let's see, we could do tests. And instead of convert to base64 string, we could do encoding.utf, right? Encoding. Do that. So retry that. I'm already out of coffee, man. It's only 5:34 and I'm already out of coffee. Specific key is not a valid size for this algorithm. Why doesn't that work? What do I not understand? Let's see. I'm trying to create a AES instance in .NET with and I am creating the key for the instance by generating 32 random bytes encoding to UTF-8, and then when I want to use the key, I'm getting the bytes from that UTF-8 string. However, an exception is thrown that the key is an invalid length for the algorithm. Why is that approach wrong? Seems to work fine when I convert to and from a base 64 string. We need more coffee. Hello, Hellbending. Good to see you. Let's see, this happens because UTF-8 is designed to encode text, not raw binary data. When you generate random bytes, you're creating arbitrary binary values. UTF-8 has strict rules about which byte sequences are valid characters. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. The wrong way. This is exactly what I did. Okay. This causes the AES to crash. So we should be doing base 64. Preserves length, AES works. Okay. UTF-8 is lossy. Okay. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. So then let's assume in the encryptor, we will assume we are converting from this. Rerun the test. The test should pass. Good morning, Danny. Good to see you. Oh, whoops, Duckboy. I need to update that message. My bad. What's it doing? I am implementing a small solution to handle encryption of sensitive data in my my personal finance app that I am building. I assume you might also be able to do like ASCII to bytes too. I guess the big thing is just needing to make sure that we preserve the length of the string that we generate when we're going from the key being generated to the key being converted. Or that whenever we're going to use the key, we just need to make sure the key is of the right length. And so if we generate the key and we save it somewhere, persist it somewhere, right? We need to make sure that however we persist it or however we translate those 32 bytes into text, we need to be able to preserve the length, so that that encryption instance that we're creating doesn't throw an error. That's the trick. So this is the right one. This should fail because the method has not been implemented. And so we need to implement it, and it's basically the inverse of what we implemented below. Couch Potato. The only reason I started using NeoVim was the themes. Tokyo Night Moon version is just gorgeous. Well, can't you get Tokyo Night though in Visual Studio Code? You go just joining what's cooking. Yeah, we are working on a personal finance app, and I have to store access tokens for the application in the database, or I have to store access tokens that the application will use to get bank account information in my database, and I don't want it to be stored in plain text. So I'm just writing a small wrapper around the existing .NET encryption APIs so that I can encrypt and decrypt things. That's all we're doing right now. But first, before we do that, coffee. Hold on. Before we do that, let's go get some coffee. Otherwise, it'll be 7 o'clock and I'll be caffeine deprived. And nobody wants a grumpy Steven on stream. I've actually been really proud of myself that in all the time that I've been streaming now, almost for like a year, that I haven't had a significant crash out on camera over the code. I've been pretty proud of myself for not throwing fits. All right, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna run upstairs and get another shot of espresso, and then I'll meet you guys back here. If you're going to help it and can store small metadata struct like a linked list node, data and length. We know size based on AES key size. I think what we'll do is I'm just going to have some files on disk that have the keys in them, and I will use that directory of keys to like rotate to make keys old, make keys new, and then I will store whatever key version was used to encrypt the user's key, because I'm gonna use like kind of an envelope encryption approach where the data doesn't necessarily have to be rotated. Not all the encrypted data doesn't have to be rotated. We will just have each user will have their own encryption key, and we'll have one master key that encrypts each user's key. And then if we ever need to rotate keys, we'll just rotate the master. We'll decrypt and re-encrypt all the user's keys. And that way we don't have to go through the process of actually decrypting and encrypting every piece of data that could be in the database, which it shouldn't be a lot, but just to avoid that. That's my plan at the moment. Vote 1 to have a crash out stream dedicated to crash outs. Nice. No crash outs. We don't want any clips of Steven getting angry on stream. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to mute myself. Yo, sorry, I'm back. I took my time a little bit there. Yeah. All right. We're back. How lucky are we? Getting to spend our morning writing some code. All right. So where were we? I think we were at the part we're ready to do some decrypting. Okay, so we basically need the same thing here. And then we need the same type of setup with the writers, or the streams, I guess I should say. So we have memory stream, we have crypto stream, we have stream writer. However, the crypto stream needs to be in the read mode, not the write mode. And then we actually need to create a decryptor. Right? And then we do the same thing, and we do return await stream reader. Oh, whoops. This should be stream reader. Stream reader. Dot read to end async. That's fine. We also need to make it async. Actually, we can just return the task, can't we? Can we not? Configured okay. All right, let's do one more. So we create the AES instance. We get the key. We create the decryptor. We get the memory stream. Memory stream, crypto stream. Oh, we actually need to instantiate the stream with the ciphertext. So we need to say convert from base convert dot from base 64 string, and we'll pass in our ciphertext like that. And this should be not encryptor, but decryptor, like that. I think that looks good. Yeah. Yo, Steven, what's your take on TDD in general and specifically for .NET Land? I love TDD. I think TDD is great for a situation like this where, you know, we know very clearly up front sort of what the interface is going to look like, and we know very clearly up front what these two methods should do, right? Like, we kind of know the functionality, or how we know that there's the behavior up front that we've already defined, right? So we know how the thing should work. I think that's when it makes a lot of sense to start with tests. Like, write your test and then go do the implementation. The place where I feel like test-driven development falls down a lot, or becomes more of a hindrance, is when you're in the process of, how do I say this? I feel like test-driven development becomes a hindrance when you don't have well-defined behavior, when you're writing code more to explore how something should work or figure out how something should work, rather than actually doing an implementation. And so to me, that's the line that I kind of use to determine when to apply test-driven development, is if I've been given a specification that has very clear defined behavior, I know these are things I want it to do or not do, we'll just immediately start writing tests and building towards that specification. write tests that represent the behavior, and then start implementing against that behavior. But if I'm writing code in a very exploratory manner, like yesterday, where I was trying to figure out, like, how does the Plaid API work? What is the shape of the data that's returned? Yada, yada, yada. Then test-driven development it's not that test-driven development isn't good or isn't bad. It doesn't seem the appropriate tool at that time and place. Now, whenever you cross over the line between, like, okay, now I'm no longer exploring the problem space. Now I actually know how I want to solve it. That's when you should probably stop and start practicing test-driven development. I think what happens a lot of times for developers, though, is that it's very easy to cross over from exploration to implementation and not realize it. And then by the time you do realize it, you're so far down the road that you don't want to stop and go back and add tests. At least that's my own personal experience, and it's what I see. It's what I've seen or experienced from a third part as a third party to the software development process. So those are my thoughts. I made a video about this too, if you're curious. I made a video on my YouTube channel called, what did I call it? I called it something like test-driven development, or let's see, test. And I tried to basically say what I just said, but in a much more elegant way. Yeah, how I approach test-driven development is the name of the video. So if you're ever curious, you can go and listen to that thing. It's a little bit more succinct, a little bit more well thought out than what I just said. But those are my thoughts. Honestly, that feels like the most sane way to do TDD, and a good way to define a boundary on where to do TDD and what the skill is that can actually be practiced. Yeah, and I shouldn't say like I've only conceptualized of that in my own development. Like, I don't know how well that applies to like larger teams. Maybe it doesn't work for larger teams, but for me, that's how I try to do it. And I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. I definitely fall down. But I do my best to try to not get away with not writing tests, right? I try to avoid. It's just too easy, and there's too many good excuses not to write tests. I try not to let myself fall prey to that. All right, what did I mess up here? Padding is invalid and cannot be removed. Okay, which means I've probably done something not right with the encrypted text, I guess. Padding is invalid and cannot be removed. So we're encrypting the plain text. Then we're decrypting the ciphertext. And in here, we're creating the decryptor, we're getting the key. Create the decryptor. Is it because the initialization vector is not consistent across? Crypto stream mode. We're passing in our ciphertext. We're converting from base 64, and we're converting to base 64 before we return it. I wonder. Let's see. Okay, when encrypting and decrypting using AES, does the IV need to remain the same? Well, I mean, it should be the same because it should just be the default, right? Okay, let me just paste in that exception. Let's see. I'm receiving this exception when trying to decrypt an encrypted string. Where have I gone wrong? What's up, MD? How are you, sir? See, remember me? My exams are going well. I was super duper busy for a few days. I was preparing for my exams down here again. Well, I appreciate you stopping by the stream, and this error is rarely about padding settings themselves. Padding is what means you are decrypting with the wrong key. Generated a new key. Oh, no. I'm using the right key. Oh, this will do it then. So we need to be able to set this then. Which is what I thought, but then we got an error. Okay, hold on. Okay, yeah. I thought I needed to provide the IV myself, but .NET analyzers give me this warning when I try to use a non-default IV value. Help me, Gemini. Help me. No, that's good. That's MD. That's great that your exams are going well, man. I'm really glad to hear that. You know what I wish that the Gemini interface had a URL. Like, you know how you can attach, you can import code, upload files, you can do all this stuff. I wish there was a like a URL to Markdown. Like, I wish I could take this piece of documentation, take the URL, and just paste it, or like, and then have Gemini convert that URL to Markdown and use it in its context. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I know I can do that manually, but it would be cool if they just added that as a feature. Ryan, so I've never implemented tests in my dev cycle. How exactly are they implemented, say, in Node? Are they part of the compile script? Typically, it's a separate command. Typically, tests are run separate from the build or the compile. You know, like in Node, typically you'd use, like, I don't know. These days, I just use vi test for everything, and then you would have like a test file. Like, usually it's like something like file.ts, and then you have a corresponding file that's like file.spec or file.test.ts, and then that test file would correspond to your production or your source code file, and then you'd have a separate test command that specifically runs those test files, and those test files then call the production code that you're testing. That's typically how it works, or that's typically how I've done it in Node applications. And I mean, that's how it is in .NET too. Like in .NET, you have your production projects, and then then you have your test projects, and they're kind of two separate things, right? Like you can at least in .NET, you can build your entire solution, including your test projects, but you don't necessarily have to run your tests every time you build. Let's see. The warning is a bit misleadingly named, but it is saying you from a very common critical bug where the IV you save is not the IV you used. The analyzer wants you to use the parameterless create encryptor method. You are bypassing. Oh, so it's saying I can't. Okay. Okay. Generate IV implicitly called. A secure random IV is already generated. Okay. So I can still set it. I just need to use the same one. Or I can set it, but I just can't. I just shouldn't pass it in here, is what it's saying. So then let's add the encryptor should be a singleton. So let's just add a private, I guess, read-only byte array. And we'll call this the IV. And this can just be a new. Is that how we do it? Avoid unnecessary zero-length array allocations. Use array empty instead. I don't want empty. I actually do want I don't want an empty bytes array. I want the actual bytes. Ryan, sweet. I'll try setting that up on my next project. Yeah, do it, man. I like Vite. Vite is not Vite. I like ViTest, which is made by the same people that make Vite, but I like ViTest as my test runner of choice these days. At least in the Node ecosystem or TypeScript, JavaScript ecosystem. That's who I prefer to use. Yeah, I want this new byte 16. There we go. And then here, say, yeah, like this. And then like this. Systematic encryption uses non-default initialization vector, which could be potentially repeatable. So it still doesn't like that I'm setting this. So then how are you supposed to use this to... Let's see. How to use AES to encrypt and decrypt data without using non-default IV. Let's see, if you use each key only a single time, not using an IV is fine. If you use a key multiple times, you should use a different IV each time so key IV pair isn't reused. Hmm. I don't know. Let's see. Generate a proper key. Just fine. Um. Oh, interesting. So it's saying I should extract the IV from the beginning of the bytes. AES block size is 128 bits or 16 bytes. Use the property for CAF401 compliance, and then use the parameter. But that's not going to work because it doesn't like that I'm doing this basically, and I don't know how to get around it. It almost seems like that's not the way you're supposed to be using this. But I don't know. Symmetric encryption uses non-default initialization vector, which could potentially be repeatable. All right, there's got to be someone who's written a blog post about how to do this properly. CA5401, how to use AES properly. It is safe to suppress this warning only if the RGBIV parameter was specifically generated using generate IV immediately before use. Oh, Stack Overflow wants to make sure I'm not an II. I mean, if you're not hard set on AES specific, then I mean, there's ops. I think I want to use it. I think I want to use this, but there should be a way to do it. I mean, it wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like the advanced encryption standard class wouldn't be there if people weren't actually using it. Let's see. That's a year ago. That's a year ago too. Let's see. I like Skill Foundries. I like this guy. I watch this guy a lot on YouTube. I think he has pretty good take, or not on YouTube, on TikTok. I think he has pretty good takes on stuff like this. Does he have a code? Does he have the code available somewhere? Damn it. So I got to scan through here. Hashing the key. Let's see, how does he, okay, this is what I'm doing. How does he create it? So he sets the key, that's fine. He generates the IV. Oh, I didn't know it had a generate IV method on it. So I'm guessing he's going to parse out the IV when he decrypts it, is what he's going to do then. Yeah, see, because he starts the create encryptor, crypto stream. And he flushes it. Convert from base 64. And then he's going to parse out the... Okay. But then he sets it. So it must be, it's okay to set it when you're decrypting, but when you're encrypting, it's not okay to set it, I guess, is what I'm seeing. Okay. So then let's come back to my code. Let's remove this. And instead of that, we'll use the default. So I guess we'll do what he did. Oh, hold on, no, that's not what I want to do. We want to do, instead of setting here, we'll do AES.generate IV, like that. And then this is going to do what? This is going to then do the encryption. That should all remain the same. It's up here now. We have to extract the IV to do. So we need to extract the initialization vector from the ciphertext. Okay. We can do this. We can do this. Ilmani, not many people chat here. Occasionally. It's been pretty quiet the last week or so. The last 4 days, it's been pretty quiet in chat. But that's okay. You know, I'm okay with people just hanging out. That's what I do in other people's streams. I just kind of chill. And that's the vibe. That's kind of the vibe I'm going for, is like, I just want to kind of create like a virtual coffee shop. People can come and hang out and maybe work on their projects alongside me, get joy, or maybe I can make them feel better at how bad I am at this. It will make them feel better about how good they are at it. So yeah, people are more than welcome just to hang out and lurk and chill. For me, it's just a good excuse to get up every morning and try to get better at coding. Let's see, I'm going to pull this guy's video off to the side here. We just, yeah, exactly. And I love that. Just chilling and working. I love it. All right, so let's do var combined bytes. Or actually, hold on. I'm actually going to call this cipher text bytes. And then, oh, whoops, hold on. That's correct. This is going to be convert from base 64. Ciphertext like this. And then he's throwing an exception there. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't think I need to throw that exception. He's actually checking to see if this byte length actually has an initialization vector as a part of it. And I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to assume it does. And if it doesn't, the code's still going to throw an exception. I'm just not going to throw an explicit one myself. Then we create the thing, we set the key. Then let's see, we need to make an IV. So we'll say var IV equals new bytes, because the default size of the initialization vector when you call generate IV is going to be 16-bit, I guess. And then we'll do array dot copy, and we're going to copy from our cipher text bytes, and we're going to copy from the start like this. And I think this is going to want us to use a different method. I think the analyzers, nope, it's okay with that. And then we'll set that here, AES.iv. And this is, I'm just literally stealing this guy's code off YouTube. I'll link to the video, or I'll link to this video in the description. Let's see, let's update the description of the stream. How do we do that? Ryan, would you cut out bugs in troubleshooting, or would you leave them in to explain how that skill works and is developed? Hold on, what are you talking about? So as a programming content creator, if you were to make a deep dive series on a language to take someone from absolute beginner, never having coded before, to being fluent in a language, would you cut out bugs in troubleshooting, or would you leave them in to explain how that skill works and is developed? I think they should be left in. And that's one thing I'm trying to do with some of the content that I'm making, is I'm trying just to show what programming and coding at least looks like for me in a very raw form, because the programming and coding content that you see a lot online is very polished and edited and prepared. Like 9 times out of 10, if you're watching a tutorial that somebody's recorded, they've built the whole thing start to finish probably once or twice already. So it's like all the nooks and crannies, all the sticking points, all the problems are already worked out. But the thing is, like, that's those sticking points, or those issues, or the troubleshooting, the debugging, the learning, the research, to me, that's the real work, right? Like, typing the code into the editor, right, is just the final outcome. But the real work is like actually like digging in and working through the problem. And so when you extract that from the process, I think you give people a false sense of what it means to be a good programmer or a good coder, because you don't typically just sit down at the computer and just go start to finish with something. You always encounter struggle. And so for me, I'm trying to put content out there that's actually reflective of that, and not just highly polished and curated things. Now, I know, and I think it's difficult, because like there is definitely a place where people, they don't want to see all that. People do want like a polished, edited video, but I don't want to serve that audience. You know, I think there's already people who are already doing a good job with that kind of content. I don't need to add to it, and I just don't find it particularly helpful. I think it sets people up with unrealistic expectations. In my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm happy to have people disagree with me, but that's my thoughts. Blackfire, my bad about not talking much for the last 2 days. Oh, dude, you don't have to talk at all, ever. You can just hang out and lurk, man. Yeah, you don't have to ever feel any pressure to lurk, or to talk and chat. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that, man. Just vibe. Just hang out here and vibe with us.
Romanian is telling you to drink some coffee.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Sorry, I was trying to update the description of my stream to link to that video so that if anybody comes along behind me, they'll know how to find, because that was very helpful. Let's see, helpful. Let's see, helpful encryption video from Skill Foundry. Save. Cool. All right, back to it. Back to it. All right, now, whenever we create our memory stream, we need to remove, you need to do cipher text bytes, start at 16, go to the end of the array, minus 16. Right? Start at 6, 16. Hold on, why are we subtracting off 16 off the end? Initialize a non-instance of main class. Okay. All right, let's see if that works now. So now what we're doing is we're deriving the IV when we encrypt, and then we're extracting it when we decrypt. Well, that didn't work. Let's see. Decrypted data to be the same string, but they differ. But they differ. So let's see, 2 total, 1 succeeded, 1 failed. So decrypting failed. Well, that's no fun. So why did it fail? It's got the stream reader. Read to the end. Setting the IV, creating the decryptor. Okay, I'm doing all the same thing on the decryption side. Okay, he's doing a little something different. He's not using a stream reader here for encrypting. He's just using the crypto string directly. Convert from base 64 string. And I'm doing to base 64. Huh. I don't know why that's not working. You might be reading past the string. I don't think so. There must be something though different between what he's doing when he is encrypting and what I'm doing when I'm decrypting. I mean, his code is definitely different. Oh yeah, because I'm not including it in my memory stream. That's why. Let's see. So what I should be doing is after I create the encryptor, or actually after I generate the IV, let's move this up. I need to actually, oh my goodness, stop. I want a new line there. I need to write the, I need to do this. I need to say memory stream dot write async dot configure await false, and I need to write the AES dot IV from the beginning. Because this call is awaited, oh. Change the write async method to use the write async read only memory bytes. Okay. So this would be .2. Okay, cool. We're also not passing cancellation tokens into here, which is not good. Also, good morning, Kirk. Good to see you. Let's see, this says 0 tests ran. Oh, it's saying it failed because these didn't have any tests to run. These didn't have any tests to run, but the 2 that ran here for the infra project passed. Okay, cool. So that worked. So I just needed to make sure and include which makes sense, right? I can't parse out bytes from the beginning of a string if they weren't there when I return in the string that I return. And then we should go here to the encryptor definition, and we should accept a since we're doing this asynchronously, we should accept a cancellation token. And we should pass this down to all those methods. Cancellation token. Should pass it here. You should pass it here. What else? Pass it here. And pass it here. Cannot convert from string to read only. Now, when we're using this in our tests, we should give it our test context.current.cancellation token. Test context.current.cancellation token like this. And then let's run our test one more time just to make sure that we didn't break into anything. Duckboy, I got a good vertical stream setup. Don't want to switch. Oh, nice. I'm glad you found a way. Okay, cool. They all passed. I know this says red on the screen, but the 2 tests passed that I care about. All right, so we have a way to encrypt and we have a way to decrypt data now. Wonderful. I need your NeoVim config. Ilario, if you type !invim or !neovim in the chat, my bot will respond with a link to you. Mr. Dwarf switch poggers for horizontal goodness. If you go to, I guess Twitch is horizontal, Mr. Dwarf, but I'm vertical so that YouTube, because I stream vertical on YouTube and I stream horizontal on Twitch. And so I try to just limit myself to the vertical view regardless so that the people over on YouTube kind of have all the context. Hellbending, yo, I'm going to hop over to Twitch because I need horizontal Steven instead of vertical Steven. No worries, no worries. You know, you do you. Is the coffee out of stock? No, the coffee's not out of stock at all. Blackfire, I'm already back to 1.7 thousand channel points. Damn. Ryan, that's what I was thinking. I'll leave it in for the list deep dive. Yeah, that would be great, Ryan. I really would love to see more people make content that really reflects like the actual experience of coding. Yeah, so I think that's awesome if you leave that stuff in. Deep Engineered, what are you working on today? I am working on building a small little encryption service basically to help me encrypt and decrypt access tokens that I have to store in my database to be able to fetch bank account information for my application. Mr. Dwarf, it's hellbending. RIP consistent naming. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so Mr. Dwarf, you are hellbending on YouTube. I'll try to remember that. I try to do a good job of trying to keep a mapping in my brain between Twitch and YouTube. But I appreciate those of you who kind of go and support me in both places. It's very nice of you. Tuan, can you give some advice for new C# dev to improve my technical skills? Too reliant on GPT doesn't make me feel well. Yeah, Tuan, I feel very much a kindred spirit to you because that has largely been a big shift. I've been using Copilot for the last like 2 years, primarily just for like really good autocomplete. I've tried doing agentic development and I've tried kind of vibe coding, and I just haven't enjoyed those. Haven't enjoyed that activity. And then the Copilot stuff, I kind of in the last 2 weeks have had kind of a similar experience to you or the similar feelings to you where I just kind of have this concern that the more I use AI, the more difficult things that used to be easy for me to do now become hard. So I guess my advice would be, one, if you're worried about that, just doesn't mean you have to stop using AI, just maybe use less AI to author your code so that you're actually getting the reps of writing the code, right? Like kind of it's almost like going back to the idea of like sometimes handwriting notes helps you capture information better than taking notes on your laptop or your iPad, right? Is that same sort of
Uncle
idea?
Pee-wee is telling you to drink some coffee.
Thanks, Uncle Pee-wee. Good morning, also. Good to see you. I love your use of my emotes, especially the coffee goblin. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite emotes. So my advice, going back to Tuan, going back to your question, I guess my advice would be stop using AI so much to author your code. And then two, on the C# side of the equation.
Uncle Pee-wee is reminding you to hydrate.
Thank you, Uncle Pee-wee. On the C# side of the equation, if you're willing to pay money, I would go take some courses off of domtrain.com. I think they have some of the most high quality, but also the most relevant .NET content for like writing C# and learning .NET in 2026, right? And then I would just go build lots of projects, Tuan. I would just any excuse you can find to work in C# and build in .NET, go do it. That would be my advice, is how to get better, because you're only gonna learn how to implement encryption in .NET by implementing encryption in .NET, right? And you just Google and you YouTube and you surf around and you read old Stack Overflow and you scan through documentation, and you know what I mean? Like that's how you learn. That's how you get better, is by putting in the reps. Got to get the good streamers and content creators exposure and support, man. Well, I really appreciate that, Mr. Dorf. I don't know if I'm a good streamer or a good content creator. I'm just trying to show up and have fun and share what I'm learning and what I'm working on. And if other people kind of enjoy that, great. If not, no worries. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Coffee is out of stock. Why is coffee out of stock? There shouldn't be a limit on it, right? Or did we set a global timeout? We might have set a global timeout on some of those because I think somebody spammed them, and I think we set a global timeout of like 60 seconds or something. Flygon Fiasco. In my opinion, you should use Copilot to learn about concepts you don't know about or best practices. Write your code yourself, though, as a junior dev. I agree with your sentiment, 100%, Fiasco. Yeah, 100%. I think it's really hard. Like, it just seems like it's a very hard ask sometimes to tell people, like, here's this super powerful AI that can generate code way faster than you can. And if you're doing something that's already been done before, 9 times out of 10, it can single shot it, right? And so it seems like it's very difficult sometimes to look at someone and be like, hey, I know you have the easy button right here, which is the LLM or Copilot in this conversation. I know you have the easy button, but don't use the easy button, right? That's what's hard about large language models and AI is you have to be really, really intentional if you're trying to avoid using it so that it doesn't steal your learning. I genuinely have this belief that the harder something is to do / learn, like the more painful it is to do, the more you learn from it and the better you remember it. Embrace the struggle. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you, Mr. Dorf. I'd have to agree with you 100%. Duckboy, good dad, though. I'm a good dad. I try to be a good dad. I'm not always a good dad, but I try. But I 100%. I actually was watching an interview yesterday. I watched an interview and I listened to an interview with Anders Halsberg because I really admire him as like an engineer. I don't know a ton about him as a person, but as an engineer, I really admire him. And I was listening to him on a podcast, and I was watching an interview he did on GitHub, the GitHub YouTube channel. And as I was listening to him kind of talk about his career and how he got to where he was, I just sat there and thought, can I ever be as good as Anders Halsberg if I rely on LLMs? And I don't know if I'll ever be as good as him, but like, can I even be like 50% as good or 75% as good if I am always relying on LLMs, right? Like he didn't become who he is or get where he got to by using large language models. So like, how do I recreate the same level of capability and competency, right, without being dependent on the large language models? And I know some people out there are going to be like, but Steven, the world changes. And I get that. I do understand that. But I don't know if I want to be the guinea pig. Like, I don't know if I want to be the first generation of folks where it's like, oh, actually, large language models are really shitty for learning and retaining information. Like, in 10 years after all the studies come out and all the science is done, they're like, wait a minute, large language models actually suck for helping you learn shit. Good morning, Oblivion. Good to see you. Maddie sounds about right. Let's see, Kirk Kennedy. Just go straight to learning system architecture. The syntax is meaningless other than proofreading. I can write Go without an LSP or AI, but no companies are interested in me. Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying, Kirk. I understand, like, there's this difference between like employability, and like, is the syntax really important? I guess that's the part that That's the part that I guess I'm questioning. Is like, what if you wanted to be a writer, right? Let's say you wanted to be a writer. Just hear me out for a second. Kirk, you come to me and you say, I want to be a writer. I want to write stories. I want to be the next John le Carre. I want to be the next, I don't know, George R. R. Martin, right? And I say to you, well, great. I think that's awesome. You can definitely do that. But don't write anymore. You don't need to write. Don't write words anymore. That's so beneath you. That's not an important skill anymore. What you need to do is you just need to spend all your time thinking about character development, and you need to spend all your time thinking about plot, and you need to think all like basically I tell you need to spend your time on these more abstract things, and you never need to put pen to paper. You never need to put fingers to keyboard. Is it really possible to do that? Like, is it really possible to be a great writer and never write? I I don't like I don't know, because there's never been such a thing.
I'd like to say something.
Don't you hate when chat wakes you up like poke, 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 poke.
Thank you, Uncle Pee-wee. Thank you for that. We appreciate you. Appreciate you for that. But yeah, that's the thing I can't separate. So I take your point, Kirk. I get what you're saying, but I'm just there. We don't have any evidence that you can become a great system architect without having actually written a bunch of code and built a bunch of systems, right? And so I don't know if I want to be the guy that runs the experiment of like, I'm going to try to become a great programmer without ever writing any programs or ever writing any code myself. I don't think I'm going to be the guy that tries that one. I'll let somebody else do that. All right, back to the code. Enough rambling. I'm finishing off my oranges. Okay, so now we have a way to encrypt and decrypt. We now need a way to do this for each user. All right, so let's go to the encryptor, and let's go to our interface, and let's do task string encrypt async, and let's, I don't know, do we want to overload it, or do we want to have something that's more descriptive? Because what I kind of want to do is I kind of want to do encrypt async, and we pass in the user, and then we pass in the string, and then we pass in the cancellation token. I mean, we could do for encrypt async for user, and then we could do decrypt for, and then we'll come down here and come to our encryptor. And this is now going to complain because we don't have those methods implemented. And then we need to actually implement this. So the tests are basically the same test, though. Excuse me. Public async task encrypt for user when called with plain text. It should return ciphertext. Hey, what's up, Sock Pasta Rock? Good to see you, man. Let's see. Do you continue learning to be a system architect after you architect the same 10 or so patterns that compose 95% of business applications for 10 plus years? Probably not. Like, you're probably not stretching your skills. Let's see. Will handwriting out the 97th system make you better? No, probably not. No, and I think that's why, like, for senior engineers, I think it makes a lot of sense why so many senior engineers are getting so much value out of AI. Sorry, I'm being your devious advocate. No, you're not. Or devil's advocate. No, you don't need to apologize, man. You make very good, like, very valid, good points, right? And that's, I think, where the context is so important for how you talk and think about AI, right? And right now, I think there's so little room for subtlety in the AI conversation, right? And that's what I'm trying to. I hope that's what I'm trying to add to the conversation a little bit. Is I'm just trying to add my own, like, how I'm thinking about it from my perspective. I'm not necessarily trying to, like, be prescriptive about it, you know. Let's see, if you want to be a hobbyist programmer, then of course, but if you want a job, we'll have to embrace agentic development. It's facetious to say otherwise, especially to juniors. Huh. Yeah, it's a good, like, I understand what you're saying about you have to deal with the marketplace the way it is, right? And so if jobs and employers are saying, hey, in order to be an engineer here, you know, you have to have X level of lines of output, or you need to use these tools. Yeah, I understand that, but I gotta wonder. At the same time, as, like, an engineer, though, shouldn't you also realize that maybe those tools aren't like, using those tools maybe doesn't benefit you as much as it benefits the company or the people that are employing you, right? Like, if people are trying to turn you into not an engineer but a good prompter, and then one day they're just going to automate the prompting, like, what are you left with, right? So I do understand what you're saying, Kirk. I 100% understand what you're saying. I don't know. Something in my gut tells me that, like, being competent and really understanding what you're doing is the most important thing. Getting better at what you're doing is the most important thing. And I think LLMs give us the false. I feel that LLM gives me a false sense of accomplishment and a false sense of my own abilities. So I think I guess maybe the happy middle ground here is, like, learn how to use the AI tools, but don't also give up on developing yourself. Maybe that's the best middle ground here, to kind of play both sides of the fence a little bit. Sock posture. Things do change. If you're a senior system architect, I don't think you generally need to spend all your time handwriting stuff to pick up the newest framework. That makes sense. Yeah. Let's see. LLMs and agents are opening the door for us to live like humans again. Spending hours on a computer has trivial reward and instead drains us of being content. I don't know. I get a lot of contentment and a lot of enjoyment from the act of writing code, right? I probably get, it's probably the only other activity that I found that equals lifting weights or playing football or doing jujitsu in terms of like enjoyment and fulfillment and contentment. Like I almost find programming as fun as playing video games in a lot of ways because there's such a like fast feedback loop in a lot of cases, and there's such a high like dopamine reward payoff when you figure something out. Yeah, I don't know. We're not going to know what the right answer to all this stuff is for another 5 or 10 years, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just suspicious. Maddie, good point. Making oneself replaceable, basically. I mean, yeah, in a way, you are. Employees were made in the 1900s, pre-electricity. Everyone was a vendor, a private merchant offering a service. Therefore, people who want a job should go for the job. It's not a true passion. Well, I think Kirk, I think you make all valid points. I just don't know. Like we all sort of have to live our life in a series of bets that we don't know if we made the right bet. And I think my bet that I'm placing at the moment is I still want to be very competent and capable. And I think what I'm saying that differs from other people is I'm saying I'm not sure that you can reach that same level of competence and capability if you're reliant on using AI agents to code for you all the time. If you've already reached that level of confidence and capability, then it doesn't really matter. Like if you're David Fowler and you've been writing code for 20 plus years and you're a stud, you made it, man. You already got there, and AI agents are just gonna make you that much more of a badass. But if you're me and you've been coding for 5 years and you're still looking to get all the reps you can, I think that relying on large language models is going to cause me to stall. And if I have to use large language models in order to retain a job, that's one thing. But when it comes to actually making time for developing myself, I think it's still important to write code and build things without relying on large language models. Which is, again, it's kind of like me playing both sides of the fence there, but I think that's probably the most pragmatic approach, in my opinion. If you're doing what you enjoy, you know the right answer already. Yeah, 100%. I feel personally good about kind of the approach I'm taking. It doesn't have to make it the right approach though for everybody. And like I've said before, I'm all for people who don't ever want to really be great engineers. They just want to ship software. That's fine. Like that's totally fine. Like we have different end goals, right? Me and them, and that's okay. I don't take any issue with that. You go, totally makes sense. Well, I appreciate that some amount of my rambling is somewhat sensical to somebody else. If I'm being honest, I think you guys bring me more value because smart people like Kirk and Sock Pasta Rock kind of offer good, not opposing, but just alternative viewpoints and perspectives that help me think a little bit clearer, right, about what I'm doing. So I appreciate you guys spending your mornings with me. It's very kind of you. All right, so let's do this. Oh, is it really 7? Damn it. Well, let's see if we can implement this really quick, and then we'll wrap up. Because we got our plain text, we've got our ciphertext, but instead of encrypt async, we want to call encrypt async 4, and we want to pass in our user. And I think what we want to do is we want to create a new user, right? Our user equals user.from, and I need to give it a string and a hash password. So I can just do, let's see, Steven and hashed password like that. Now the thing is that the whole point of passing in the user is so that we can use the user's encryption key, which is itself encrypted. Yeah, which is itself encrypted. So I guess we actually need to have like some private methods that will wrap some of this logic, right? Because we don't want to rewrite this multiple times. So we'll probably need like an encrypt core async. That's very .NET-y naming convention, but we almost need to rename these to be like let's rename these real quick. So let's drop this one down here. Actually, no, let's do this. Let's add a new one that's called public async task, which returns a string, and this will be our decrypt async. I guess I can just copy this whole thing. I'll put that there.
I'd like to say something.
Good sir, it is time for work.
It is time for work. You are. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I shouldn't sit here and try to do this. I should probably wrap up. When am I gonna? I need to win the lottery or something, you know, so I can just write my own code all day. I don't have to write code for other people. Let's see. Kirk, being a great engineer only matters for companies. Most successful tech products are tied together with shoelaces and then refactored after funding. It's all about being an architect, in my opinion. And that's totally fine. I mean, yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think you're 100% right. I think a lot of products are just kind of shoelace, duct tape, held together with duct tape. More so than we probably realize. I think a lot of technology in general is that way. And engineers are largely just code janitors, tech janitors. What was I going to say that? Oh, you're right. I mean, I understand what you're saying about being a great engineer only matters for companies. I think that's a valid sentiment. I guess it matters to me, though, right? It's like, it mattered to me a lot that I was a good linebacker when I played football. It mattered to me a lot that I was a great personal trainer. That I was a very knowledgeable, capable personal trainer when I was a personal trainer. It mattered to me that I was a really good food scientist when I was a it matters to me on an individual level. So I guess I'm not looking at it through the same lens as you're looking at it through. Like, I just want to be good for my own personal satisfaction. But I would never, Kirk. I hope you never think that I would tell people that, like, oh, you want a job. I hope that what you take away from this is not that, like, I'm advocating for people not to be familiar with AI or AI tools, and that would result in people being hindered by being able to get jobs because of the current state of the marketplace. And it would be disingenuous of me because I've spent a lot of time working with AI, both in my own personal workflows and also to build systems and implement features. So I'm not trying to say that, and I hope that's not what you take away from it. Engineers are just confused monkeys with wrenches. But we figure things out. We're confused monkeys, but we eventually unconfuse ourselves. Speaking as oneself, looking at Ruby and Perl. I actually think that I might want to learn Ruby on Rails. I've been listening to so much 37 Signals content lately. I feel like I might want to go learn Ruby on Rails at some point. I know like earlier this week I told somebody that I was kind of burnt out on learning programming languages. But yesterday I kind of had the spark of like, maybe I want to become a Ruby on Rails dev. Sorry, I got a text. My mom texted me. Ruby's a nice language syntax-wise. Yeah, it looks pretty. And maybe it'd be a good fallback plan. I don't know. Mr. Dwarf, yo, quick question. I think I might have landed a front-end dev role and I have a third round on Monday. What's your thoughts on things I should review over the weekend? I don't really know, honestly, man. I've not ever interviewed for a front-end dev role specifically. Um, I don't know. My opinion on interviews is very, I think, different than a lot of people. Like, I think interviews is far less about trying to be something you're not or pretend that you have knowledge that you're not. And I think interviews is much more about just going in and being you and sharing what you do know and being honest about what you don't know, right? Like, I've never been afraid in an interview to say, like, if somebody asks me a question I don't know, like if somebody had asked me today, like, hey, can you please implement AES encryption using .NET APIs? I would say, well, I'm not 100% certain how I would exactly do it, but I know that there's an AES class and that you can create an encryptor from it. And I know that I can pass in a key from configuration, like, and then I would say, but from there, I'm not really sure where I'd go. But here's what I would go and do to figure it out. Right. And so for me, whenever I've gotten an interview, I've never felt like I need to like sit down and like study for it like a test, right? Like, or cram for it. So that's not really how I approach it. And I'm not even sure what I would advise you to try to study. Like, I just feel like you go into the interview and you be as open and honest and you try to demonstrate the skills you have and you be honest about the skills and the knowledge you don't have and you explain how you would try to close that skill gap and how you've closed skill gaps in the past. And if that means I'm okay with, if that means that the interviewers don't hire me, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't want to lie to people, or, and I'm not saying you're trying to lie to people, but I don't want to try to portray myself as something I'm not. And then if I get asked something in an interview that I don't know, I can just use that as a like, oh, well, that's something I need to go learn about, so that next time it comes up, I'll know about it. But I do wish you all the best in your interviews, man. I hope you're gonna kill it. Well, technically full stack, but apparently all TypeScript anyway. Well, you're gonna kill it, man. You seem like a very knowledgeable and competent individual. You'll do just fine. If they're like my company, it's all TypeScript. I hate TypeScript. Really? You hate TypeScript? I like TypeScript, man. That's probably my second favorite language. Mr. Dwarf, I got asked about the bloke. What's your opinion? Or I got asked by the bloke, what's your opinion on JavaScript on the back end? And I sort of auto-replied without remembering what... that it's a JS role and said something like, I think there's certainly better languages, both performance and type safety-wise. But if you're using TypeScript and being reasonably strict with how you represent data, you're either using lambdas or aren't serving a ton of traffic, then it's a viable option. Nice. Well, hopefully you didn't shit on their backend by saying that. Come to find out, their whole backend is written in TypeScript. That's pretty funny. Mr. Dorf, but we talk about my own extensive Rust experience beforehand, so I think he understood because I got a call back. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Own it and just find a way to learn and figure it out. Yeah, I mean, that's what engineering is, like, to some extent in any field. I mean, obviously, everyone expects you to show up on a job, even in science, right? science, engineering, any job, they kind of expect you to show up with a base level of, sort of the basics of your discipline, but like you're there to solve problems, and solving problems means you're going to have to push the boundaries of what you know, and you're going to have to learn new stuff. And I don't know if I'd want to work. I don't know if I'd want to work for somebody who thinks that I should just know everything about everything and be able to answer every obscure question that they can throw at me. Like if that's how you're judging my ability and my value, like I'm probably not the right guy to work for you, and you're probably not the right guy that I should work for. Uncle P with Vanilla.js is what I normally use. There's nothing wrong with Vanilla.js, but I like TypeScript. I like the experience I get from TypeScript for tooling purposes. But I understand people who just want to stick with Vanilla.js. There's nothing wrong with that either, especially if you use Vanilla.js. Now there's JS doc comments, which are really nice, and there's a bunch of tooling support for those as well. So you guys know my opinion on this stuff. I think you should use the tooling, the languages, the editors, the whatevers that you enjoy, right? And if that includes just writing code with AI, do that. Like who am I to tell you how to live your life? Mr. Dwarf, their entire backend is in TypeScript. Well, if you came to me and you offered that opinion, right, I would be like, that's a correct opinion, and then I would be super impressed that you know Rust, because I wouldn't know Rust, so I'd be like, well, if this guy can learn Rust, he can definitely learn our TypeScript backend. We don't have to worry about this guy being able to do the job. I think what got me through, honest to God, was when he asked how I go about learning new things. I explained what I'm the type of person that if I don't understand something, I'll go read the docs top to bottom, come back tomorrow knowing it's better than average. Exactly. And I think that's what you want. You want people who are capable of learning, who want to solve problems, who are willing to do what's necessary to solve those problems, right? Yeah. There's just too much knowledge in the world for you to know everything about everything. That's just it's just not. It ain't it, man. It ain't it. Interview said he's given Rust a crack and dropped it pretty quickly due to time. Yeah. No, I mean, I think if someone can come in and sit there and talk programming and coding, there's actually a good on the topics of interview. I just watched a podcast I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of podcasts, so forgive me for always bringing podcasts and interviews up. But I just watched one with Casey Muratori about interviewing that was really, really good. Where is it? Is that it? I think it's this. I think it must. Yeah, it's this one. I just watched this podcast, and Casey Muratori talks about like how he approaches he talks about it like how does he interview people, and it's kind of interesting to listen to how he does it, and it's far less like what you hear about, and I think it's honestly the right approach. Let's see. Let's do at who is this? Let's see. Good podcast. Yeah, it's worth your time if you got it. Casey's amazing. Dude is so well spoken. Articulates him so well. Yeah, he's very well spoken. Yeah, I'd like to be. That's another person like another. I'd like to be an engineer like Casey one day. And I don't think Casey became the type of engineer he is through relying on large language models. And that's sort of the guiding principle that I'm using at the moment. in a lot of cases, it's like, how do I get to where I want to go, and how did somebody else get there? Right? I'll suss it in 20 to 30 minutes or so. Yeah, no worries, no pressure, but it was a good take on the whole interview thing. All right, folks. I'm 15 minutes over. I got to run. If you're new here and you want to come back and hang out, the best place to find us is when we're live on YouTube and Twitch. I'll drop my schedule in the chat here. And then if you want to find us when we're not live, and when I say us, I mean me and chat, you can join our Discord, discord.stephenfreeborn.com. That's the best place to find us outside of stream. But no pressure, you don't have to join. If you want to come hang out, please do. See you, Maddie. Have a good day, man. All right, chat. It's been pretty quiet. I think Mr. Dwarf and Maddie are the only ones here. So, oh, Duck Boy's here. Bye, Duck Boy. Bye, Mr. Dwarf. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Uncle Pee Wee, thanks for the reminder to go to work. Kirk, thanks for all the good conversation, man. I really appreciate you. Sock Pasta Rock, thank you for being the devil's advocate. Appreciate that. All right. See you, Hugo. When's the next stream? Tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow morning. I'm not sure about the weekend. We're actually going home. I'm going back to my hometown this weekend to visit family. So I don't know if I'll be live on Saturday and Sunday. I'll probably try to go live, but I don't know how the internet and stuff will cooperate. So it might be kind of a rocky stream over the weekend. So we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. See you, Estefanos. I'm headed out for the day, but thanks for stopping in, man. Saying hi. I appreciate you. All right, guys. Bye, chat. Bye. Bye. See you guys. Have a great day. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Duckboy, just coffee and chat, no code. Maybe. That might be how it goes. That might be how it goes. All right. Bye, guys.